Oh, hello there, little puppy.
Hello, puppy. Oh no, brown cow.
Cow now, brown cow.
Oh. You mother.
When two Division I athletes discuss the challenges and successes of navigating life after competing, you get conversations designed by athletes for athletes. I'm Don Sutton.
And I'm Brooke Bierhaus, sharing with the athletic community stories and insights to better understand life when your sport ends.
It's interesting thinking about your identity because I feel like maybe 10 years ago, if we were having this conversation, you and I both would be like, oh, well, I'm a swimmer, I'm a runner, I'm an athlete, and then kind of like go off of there. But I'm just curious what your three adjectives for right now would be for describing yourself.
Adjectives. That's just singular words, huh? So
yeah, just a quick snapshot.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I think I'm disciplined.
Yeah.
Much from the sport and trying to continue to be within that sport. Honest. I try to say it how it is.
Yeah.
Even if it's brutal.
And that honesty will probably come through on the podcast too, which is good for everyone.
Yeah.
Because you need those hard and honest anecdotes and questions.
Definitely. And just because it keeps coming back within the last couple of weeks. Definitely stubborn.
Yeah.
You're going to finish my sentence for me, huh? Yeah.
So, I mean, I knew it was coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And I think that all of those aspects were with me 10 years ago as well.
Yeah,
but
tied
some
into.
were a little bit stronger than others, I'd say, now. And definitely a little bit more humble than I was in those days.
That really comes with excelling at a sport. Don't you think a lot of NCAA athletes, collegiate, university, pro athletes probably have... There's a lot of humble athletes, but I think there's a bit of every athlete that's like, I'm the best, I don't need...
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I feel like in a way you might have to have a little bit of that.
Yeah,
I mean,
to excel.
Yeah, I think it seemed like I was a big fish in a small pond. Then you go to college and then you're like, wow, everybody's fast.
Everyone's hit those
and
times.
And then you're
to
like,
be
wow, all right, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and
did that happen at first when you were in, like, was there a moment when you realized that? Was it in practice or was it in a meet whenever you got to college and were like, damn, this is a new level of...
Training was crazy. I knew training, especially at that level, you see a lot of fast people.
Yeah.
And a lot of fast kids your age as well, much faster than me. It was very humbling right off the bat, but you want to be there and you want to try and do your best to contribute to the team the best way possible. So you just suck it up and you get cranking. But it's for the best, right? Like that's kind of why you want that team. You want to race, you want to push each other, you want to really get into it. And I think I excelled more in practice than I did in my own meets because I wanted to push people like within the team. Yeah. Which is a different aspect. But they always said, oh man, there were two guys who were not in my lanes, they were further down, but they would be going really hard in warm up. And they would just be like, so one of my college roommates, Eric, he's just this nutso, like he and this other guy, Austin Seroff, would just push each other in warm up to the point where they would go like 144s in warm up in 2 freestyles. And they would just be lapping like some people, but they would just push each other so hard in warm up itself before like practice even started. We still have an hour and a half to go, but that's a good thing, that's like what you want and that's what you need. And I think that's I always liked that about where I swam. So
That's an interesting aspect, because I feel like I liked that component of training for a while, and then it became more unhealthy in the terms of like, you just get into this
you get into the
zone where
yeah.
everything's a competition, and I saw that being sort of like one of the reasons that I didn't enjoy running anymore, because everything was a competition. Every training session, every lifting, whenever we had it, it was like, it became a lot. But I think it's good for some aspects, and I'm almost wondering if it's like even a female male perspective on things, being like, you know, maybe one kind of thrives off of having competition all the time in training, and maybe like others not so much. It might not be a gender thing, it could just be how you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, it started becoming more like the sport being in school. Like, I was pushed to graduate in 4 by our athletic department. Nothing against that. I'm glad I graduated in 4.
Yeah.
But it was becoming more of an outlet than me seeing it as that passion that I loved. And I think that really, so like when I go to these travel meets and stuff, I don't know, I just wasn't in it as much. I saw it as more of a vacation instead of actually like going and being like, this is it, this is my job. Like, you know, like this was,
there's different
I want to
mindsets.
excel.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big kind of hindrance, and probably why I fell out on my 4th year. So
yeah. Well, so then after, did you start focusing on your studies more? I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I took 15 hours both of my last semesters, whereas I was taking full-on summer coursework, and then I ended up getting an internship.
Great.
With Eric. Eric's mom, actually. That was just huge. It was great. She invited me out. I stayed with them out in DC,
right? Yeah.
Washington DC. Worked with Discovery Communications for a summer.
Nice.
And then came back and was like, you know, I think this accounting bit's pretty good. Like, I'm pretty good at it. And managed to land with a master's program at a smaller school, and then kind of got a graduate assistantship and coached swimming while I was down there. And then the rest just kind of went.
So what was your degree in?
Where?
What was your bachelor's and then what was your master's?
So in my undergraduate, I was economics major.
Okay.
And then after graduating in economics in whatever that was, spring, took that internship and then headed back to San Marcos. And originally I was just going to do like a 1-year program, accelerate it, get my CPA qualifications, and then start taking the CPA with whoever paid for it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But
and you did get your CPA.
I did.
Yeah.
So Texas State actually had a program that was accounting and information technology.
Cool.
I actually liked it.
It's really niche.
Yeah, and that's actually how I got my graduate assistantship, through the CIS program. And I kind of found out that I was pretty good at it, and if you just stick to it, like routine, not having swimming anymore, like you focus a lot more energy into that. And I was able to really knock it out in a 1.5 years with taking a semester off for an internship with some accounting firm that, it was pretty good.
So I think that's an interesting part of it, the athletic, like an athlete's mentality, is really throwing yourself into something after your sport ends. Because I've had I remember former teammates that took time off and, you know, were just kind of like, it was their own process, their journey of things just being more laid back and really taking time to enjoy that non-structured lifestyle for a bit. But I threw myself into complete like journalism school and then kept training for an ultra marathon. I was just like, I needed that structure, but on my own terms.
Yeah.
And I think that's true Would you say that's true for you today too?
Definitely.
Structured and schedules and...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I was going through grad school, I was coaching swimming, but I would get out after doing like my grad hours with the teachers and everything. I would go over to the pool, swim for like an hour, swim way too much.
Sure.
Like 3,500 in an hour, which is like, those are like...
Put that in for non-swimmers.
It's pretty good college yard. Like,
Okay.
you're almost pushing college yards. Not quite.
What is college yards, just for frame of reference?
Yeah, so it depends. Like, we'd have distance swimmers swimming 10K a practice, which
Wow.
in 2 hours, I think. 10K to 2.5 maybe. And then usually we were anywhere between 6,000 and 7,000 for 2 hours.
For two, that's...
I Bleav. Yeah, I think that sounds right. It's been about 10 years.
Yeah. Okay,
But
yeah.
it's weird that I remember swimming like $3,000, 3,500. I
Well,
don't know. I
because
just
it
felt.
was such a part of,
Mhm.
like, I feel like that timing in your life, and I know in mine, is like, I'll always remember that
Yeah.
struggle. It was just such, it is, as much as I use that term transition, it is
It was
a transition.
Exactly. And I think that helped. That partial transition actually helped with my current routine, where I have Coda. You know, I wake up
His
at
dog.
5. Yeah, my dog. My lovely assistant.
Yes, she's in the room right
Yes, and
now, wanting to be pet at every moment. So if
She
you're
wants to be
watching the
outside.
YouTube of the video of this, then you've seen her maybe.
I don't
She
know.
might be too low.
She's
But she's looking out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Majestic.
So your routine.
So
in
my
Coda.
routine, every day during the week, 5 a.m. Take care of Coda for 30 minutes outside, no matter, even if it's 20 degrees.
Yeah.
And then get that hour.
Just to myself, recoup, get to work at 7, leave at 11, go work out, whether it's swimming 2K 3 days a week, which I still feel like is a pretty good amount of yardage for an hour
it is.
swim. So
Yeah.
it
think
gets the
it's
job.
swimmers.
It gets the job done.
Yeah.
And then and then get back to work at 5, finish at 5. Very rigorous structure. Like I try not to let anything go outside of its lane.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane, bro. You know,
Stay in your lane.
all my activities, because
Such
gotta
a
get
swimmer
home.
mentality.
Yeah, well, you know, if I don't get home at 5, nobody's gonna take Coda out.
I'd be interested to know how many former NCAA athletes currently own dogs.
Yeah, that would be an interesting aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine there's probably a good majority that own cats too. I feel like they're a dog and cat
I'm a dog
people,
person,
you know.
So I'm like, oh yeah, cats, what? Yes, and you know, let's not forget about our reptiles.
The reptiles, yes.
There are
Cockatiels.
Yes.
People
exactly.
have toucans out there.
That's true. Okay, so
Nobody
so
has a
maybe-
toucan.
But you and I were looking up the statistics because we were curious.
Mm-hmm.
There are 1,098 colleges that make up, and universities in the NCAA.
Yeah.
500,000 college athletes across the 19,886 NCAA athletic teams.
Mm-hmm.
And of those 500,000 athletes, 98% of them will turn professional in something other than their sport.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a staggering amount.
It is.
2%.
2%.
Pro or semi-pro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you got to put both of those in. I think they said that was part of it.
Yeah, just think about 500,000 people
Yeah.
every year competing in sports. That's so crazy.
That's crazy.
I always like hearing about people's transitions or what they're doing and how, like, I mean, I think that the transition aspect into it is always fascinating because
It is.
there's such a wide range of what could happen.
There's so many different routes you can
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of exciting interviews coming up, but I want to still talk about you because we are still getting to know you and your process and what you're up to now. So could you give a little bit of background on your work currently in innovation and technology?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think just to continue the story, after I had worked my internship with that accounting firm, I was wrapping up my graduate degree, and I actually got hired on by a Big Four accounting firm called PwC. They were actually more for cybersecurity consulting, which I thought I wanted to go into, but when transferred over to Houston, gave Houston 2 years. I like Houston as a city. I just couldn't see myself living there. Have a lot of friends there.
Was it just too big, or what was the downside? Not enough nature, maybe?
Yeah, not enough nature. I thought, it's super flat, which I have nothing against. I'm from Florida, but there wasn't like one like here in Arkansas, where I currently reside. We have mountain biking. I can bike to a trail and mountain bike, whereas like the biking out in Houston, I could bike all throughout the city, but it's all flat. There's nothing, too exciting. The food, I will say, in Houston is amazing. Yeah. I love. Anyway, beside the point.
Food, as in like cult favorites and diets and stuff like that, we should definitely talk about on one of the podcasting with one of the interviewers.
God, I wonder if there are any chefs out there. If there are any chefs, please, I would love to hear your journey and what you're doing.
Athlete, chef now.
That would be really awesome.
Let us know. We're open to a lot of different, but I would really like to hear from a chef. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like to pretend I'm a chef sometimes, but...
Salt Bae.
Yeah, Salt Bae.
Throw it on there.
Needs more salt.
Oh man. Okay, so you were in Houston.
I was in Houston, and I was working with PwC. I was wrapping up my CPA. Mm-hmm. The PwC has an excellent culture as far as fully mature. They know how to take care of the employees, and it works really well for athletes because there's always a grind in that sense. And I felt like I was grinding a lot, and doing that on top of getting my CPA, on top of everything, I just kind of needed a moment. So I went to Bali in Thailand for 3 weeks, and I wouldn't say found myself, but I went out there. Things, though, I realized a lot of things about myself, because for a week we did this weird thing called Yacht Week, which is like, it's the luxurious lifestyle of things and everything else. And then a week after, I spent just a week in rural Thailand, living it, driving scooters, trying to speak with people who don't speak English.
Yeah,
and
trying to...
Honestly, I like that aspect so much more. And I came back to Houston and the grind, and I was like, why am I doing this? A lot of people in Southeast Asia were just happy to make it through the day.
Yeah.
Which I thought
was like gratitude towards a life.
Thankful. It was really eye-opening from that aspect. And I mean, I realized I'm extremely privileged. But it was just cool to really see that, and I wanted to figure out how I can incorporate that more into my lifestyle. So I basically, after I wrapped up my CPA, I basically told the PwC people I was going to be a fisherman in Alaska, and they were like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, I'm really not feeling this. And they said, hold on. And we have a project that may be more up your alley. Okay. And it was an innovation project. And they had me traveling to Tampa. Like, you'd be traveling to Tampa every week. You'd be doing a lot more kind of software development, overseeing working with teams and figuring out really creative problems that really need creative solutions. And I said, all right, I'll give that a shot. And I started traveling. So I started traveling to Tampa every 2 weeks. And while I was in Tampa, my lease had expired in Houston. So I just started flying around to different places and just crashing on people's couches wherever.
Your nomadic lifestyle was...
The nomadic
yeah,
lifestyle. I
that was
literally,
it.
I just have this image of me packing up everything into my, everything I could into my old 98 Ford Explorer in 2014.
Wow.
And just being like, if I can't fit it in here, it's gone.
Wow.
It's gone. And I drove back to Florida and stopped in Birmingham for a week, crashed at a buddy's house. Birmingham's a cool place, by the way. Very cool place. Then driving all the way back and then starting to just hop around to like New York, Denver, San Francisco, you know, living the remote life, working remotely, and then we're flying back to Tampa. And that's kind of how I came across Arkansas.
Yeah, I was going to say, were you kind of feeling out?
Yeah, I was feeling out. Yeah, exactly.
There?
I was traveling across all the U.S. and I was like, where can I live that lifestyle where a bit more slower paced, a bit more enjoyable, and, you know, where I can really find, I guess, not roots in the sense, because I have roots with, you know, my former teammates. Like, I'll always have a place in Austin, like, in my heart, right? Same thing with home, right? It's just part of you. But I was looking for something a little bit more...
A new chapter.
A new chapter,
yes.
new me type ordeal. And my sister...
you.
Yeah. My sister actually worked for Tyson's Chicken, located here in Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah,
don't forget the NWA.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the NWA, and I came out here and I loved it. I mean, clearly I got a house here. I was like, this is it. So yeah, I after that spent about 2 years on that project, and then told them, all right, that was fun. I'm moving to Arkansas. And they were wanting me to move to like New York or Denver. And I was like, I wasn't a huge fan. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what if I moved to Arkansas? They're like, well, we don't have much out there. Understandable.
Yeah.
Understandable.
I like that what if I moved to Arkansas?
Like,
go to Denver, New
like
York,
I said,
San Francisco.
yeah.
What if I moved to Arkansas?
Yeah, I know. Right in the middle of the country where they're like,
that's amazing. Well, we don't really do much there.
No, and that's kind of where we fell out.
Yeah.
And it was a mutual just understanding though. But I just remember it was one of those iconic points in my lifetime where I remember, because PwC does have a small office here for, I think Tyson. PwC audits Tyson. And I remember turning in my laptop at the PwC office here because I wasn't going back to assurance.
Oh, okay.
And I remember walking out and like opening the door and taking a step down and being like, that's it. I'm unemployed. Yeah. Here we go. Let's figure this out. And obviously I'd planned for this.
Yeah, you budgeted.
I budgeted.
Which is probably an athlete type of mentality.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
More of like a swimmer.
I planned on being unemployed for like 6 months.
Yeah. So you had a cushion.
I had a cushion, right? And I just started applying for jobs, and I made it like a rigorous...
Right. I mean, this was more because you really catered it towards what your new, like... Lifestyle was going to be. Yeah. So what were you looking for that was different? Here?
I was just... It sounds cliche, but I was looking to be happy, right?
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm going to just start sending resumes out to every employer around here. I'm going to just start figuring it out. Like, and then I started working as well, like on side jobs, doing kind of like, not CPA work, but I was doing accounting work for people, trying to figure out if I could make. The hard part about that, though, for professional services, you got to know people. It was just cool to be kind of in that moment for 2 months where I didn't have that day in, day out grind, and I could really just not find myself, but really just meet everybody that fell into my wheelhouse. And that's how I met the Food Loops founder, who a year passes and I'd already found a job. Side story.
This is a good side story though.
Yeah, a year passes and I finally found a job and I was steady, like making steady income. And I was just, I wanted to see how they were doing. And I reached out to the founder and he's like, we just need help. And I was like...
Food Loops is an incredible organization that works with composting.
Yes.
And...
This is not a Food Loops advertisement.
No, but...
Food Loops, they do full circle sustainability, which I'm a big fan of. So they distribute eco cups that are made out of corn and sugar. Not just cups, but like straws, forks, plates, everything. They distribute them to local restaurants as well as collect your compost. And the beautiful thing about those plates and stuff is they can all fall into that compost,
which has been soil for farming.
Right. Then they have a process to pick that stuff up, grind it down, turn it into fertilizer to make the product all over again. Yeah. And I just love the model.
It's innovative.
I love it. And the owners are just awesome. Yeah. They're just great people. That's kind of how... Actually, my current job, they actually found me, and I had no idea who they were. I was like, is this a real company or is this a scam? Yeah. They'd reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I was like, who the hell? And then we had the phone interview. It was good. And then we had our in-person interview, and I come in fully suited, like... to the T, formal. I was from a city, I was in the city mentality. Yeah. And I walk in and there are people in shorts, flip-flops. Everybody's got a Star Wars t-shirt on. It's tech. It was a software company. Yeah. And it was hilarious. Like, I'm thinking to myself, man, did I just overdress? Did I screw myself for overdressing? Yeah. And we walk back to the room and there's a half-court basketball court. I was like, this is pretty cool.
It was an old YMCA.
It was in an old YMCA that got turned into office space. And we go into this room where they kept, and I love this. I think this really attests to my kind of humor, and I appreciated it greatly. They were the old racquetball courts, and they said, must wear protective eyewear. Fast moving objects. It's just they just left it up there. I love that. I was like, a meeting room can get pretty hostile.
You might want to wear protective eyewear.
But I after having the interview with them, having the third and fourth round interviews, I really thought I connected with these people. Yeah. And it was great. Like, I felt like they were a company that I would want to fight for. And, I still feel that way. And it kind of has transitioned me over, because originally I just started in customer support. Okay. I was like, I'll take a small job, do like kind of a grassroots and build. And then I transitioned into account management. And since I have my CPA, I was doing our finances and cleaning up our books on the side. And now it continues to evolve. And it's because of that team aspect. Like, I want to make sure that we keep the culture. I want to fight for my team. And my role just keeps evolving, which is a good thing.
It is a good thing.
It just, you get into some more responsibilities, but it goes back to that team aspect where I love my team. I want to fight for them and make sure that they're doing everything. Like, we keep our mentality. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. More things to come.
Absolutely. There will be updates. Mm-hmm. But what do you think made your initial transition into more, I hate using the word real life, but more of a life without competing easier? I think that's a hard... For anyone that's in that spot right now where your sport's maybe almost over, right? Senior year, maybe your sophomore year, you don't want to do it anymore, and you're worried what you're going to do. Do you have any advice, or what worked for you?
Honestly, the competing aspect, I was done with it. Yeah. I was done with the competition. I was just toast. But the one aspect that maintained was working out, you know? And I kept that religiously, and I think that helped, and that was therapeutic.
Mentally and physically.
Mentally and physically, yeah. And here I am finding myself, 9 years later, just competing in local competitions because I have closure, I feel good, and I know that I can restrain myself from getting too competitive, although I do get pretty... sometimes, in the things that you train for, you get pretty passionate about it. But it's nice being able to sign up for a 3K, open water swim, train for it, and just focus on yourself and see what you can really push your body towards instead of, trying to just
go back to
compete. It being your main thing.
Sure.
Yeah, it being your main thing, or obviously you have goals, but you have more pressing things in life. From my aspect, you have more pressing things in life to get caught up in that stuff, which is a relief. I think.
Have phases, you can put more
definitely
priority towards different things now in life.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. I love hearing how other people transition, and I think that it's I think it's very healthy to talk about your process, right? Because there are gonna be a lot of ex-athletes out there who had those hard times and who will open up and express their stories, and my end goal and what I'm really hoping for in this aspect is it's that sense of community, to know that you're not alone as far as if you're not feeling that great, or if you feel like you're on top of the world and then you get hit by a bus when your sport ends, or that transition process. That's the whole thing, right?
Exactly.
Talk about it, talk about your experiences, talk about how you correlate.
But I think it is important to know that there are more out there that have been through it, that are thriving in new careers.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll be exciting to explore that too.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always exciting. I'm hoping that we get some older people on too, because I love swimming. Swimming is just a great example, because I don't swim on a master's team. I don't pay for swimming, but my lunchtime swim group, I go there. They're a bunch of ex-athletes who, are just having a good time.
And swimming is great for longevity, for your joints.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, running, it takes a toll, and I've already seen that, which which we will talk about on a different episode, about how since meeting you, I've started to swim more, and I think since meeting me, you've probably run more.
This podcast is brought to you by USA Swimming.
Yeah.
Get more people swimming. I'm just trying. Watch the sport. Come on.
Yes. No, but I think that's an interesting aspect too, when you start focusing or trying out different sports than the one that you excelled at. Yeah, but we would love to hear from any athletes that are in transition, have gone through it, or would like to share your story. And I know we said this at the beginning of the podcast, but
it's important to reiterate.
It's important. If you are interested, you can find us on Instagram, the Bleav Podcast Network, on their website, also on the YouTube channel.
If you like what you hear, like us on Facebook. Actually, I don't do Facebook, so never mind. I don't do that kind of stuff very well. I just hear people say that, and then I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible PR person.
Well, you can find us on all of the platforms that you listen for your podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and on the Bleav Podcast Network. You can find all of our episodes, and if you like it, subscribe and leave a review, because your comments and reviews mean a lot to us.
Yeah, we just want to keep these stories going. So please, if you like what we're doing, and you have a story to tell, we're listening.
If you or a former athlete you know would like to be a guest on the podcast, you can reach us on Instagram or on the Bleav podcast website. And for all my visual learners, you can follow along on YouTube to watch the podcast as well.